I have 178 unread books on my shelves, and I really want to whittle that down to 75 by this time next year. In order to reach my goal, I thought it would be a lot of fun to create this TBR vlog challenge where I would basically use a spin the wheel app with a bunch of prompts. I would spin the wheel and I would go through my shelves and pick a book that would match that prompt. But since I'm in my romantic fantasy era and I have been so obsessed with it, I felt like I might as well just jump in the deep end and fully embrace this new obsession. So I thought it would be a lot of fun for this vlog to be around romantic fantasy. Because it is a little bit different than the generic spin the wheel, I have changed the prompts a little bit to fit this subgenre. And the prompts are under 400, indie published, 2024 releases, second chance, obviously if I DNF'd it or I put it down for whatever reason, first in a series, continuing a series, and over 2 years. If I've owned the book that's been on my shelf for over 2 years, it's gotta be read or it's gotta go. So if that sounds like a lot of fun, stick around and let's spin the wheel. All right, I got the prompt that I got last video, and that is 2024 release. I was kind of hoping for a different prompt, but honestly this works. So give me a second and I'll bring some books back for you. All right, I'm back with 3 books. So the first one is probably unlikely because I'm actually currently reading another series by this author, but I still want to talk about it because I love the cover. And that is 3 Kinds of Lucky by Kim Harrison. This is the beginning of her new series. Kim Harrison is actually known for another urban fantasy series called The Hollows, and I'm actually currently reading the first book of that, Dead Witch Walking, which is, I'm actually having a lot of fun. So this is a urban fantasy series. I actually don't know much about this series besides the fact that it's urban fantasy from an urban fantasy author, and honestly the cover just looks amazing. That's one option. Another option is A Fate in Blood. I have a lot of problems saying that title, by Danielle L. Jensen. I have read Danielle L. Jensen's other works, the Bridge Kingdom series now. It's not a duology, it's now a series. I've read that series, and I've also read her YA series, which you can kind of see down there. I've also read that series as well, which was like, it was okay. So I really have wanted to read this because it is about a shield maiden, but I haven't heard the best things about this book. This cover is just, it speaks to me on a level. So let me think about it. And the last one I picked out is The Heartless Hunter by Kristen C. Carilli. I hope I said that right. I probably didn't. I apologize. So this, unlike the other two, this is actually a YA fantasy, but this grabbed my attention because all of the amazing reviews, like honestly, I haven't heard a single bad review. Even the people who don't read YA are saying it's pretty good. Also, I'm also drawn to her because she's another Canadian author. So is Danielle L. Jensen. So these are 2 Canadian authors. I always try to read Canadian authors whenever I can. So I got these 3 beautiful books and they actually look amazing together. So I'm probably going to rule out 3 Kinds of Lucky, only because I am currently reading her other series. So maybe I kind of want to finish that before starting another series by her. So this will be on the back burner for another day. And so now it's really between these 2. And both of these have a sequel coming out next year, and I just checked, and The Heartless Hunter comes out earlier. So I think I'm going to read The Heartless Hunter. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this book because I've mentioned in past videos that YA just really doesn't work for me. But like I said, the great reviews, Canadian author, and honestly, this cover is just beautiful. I'm actually really excited to read it. So I will be back in a couple days with an update. We're in my basement right now. It's actually the nicest part of my house because it was just finished like 2 years ago. But my kids have like taken over. Oh, there's Otis. It's always following me. But my kids have like literally taken over this space. Like there's toys everywhere. There's games everywhere. Like it's just it's a mess. But today it was actually clean, so I figure I just shoot in here because it's a nice change of scenery. But anyways, give you an update. So I am halfway through, well, not half, just a little less. I'm just under halfway through The Heartless Hunter, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't know if this is going to be a 5-star read because it is YA. And it's not that I have anything against YA, it's just not something that I'm usually drawn towards unless it's something exceptional. This has a very youthful feel to it, but also it has a lot of heavy-hitting topics in it that I really appreciate. It handles a lot of things like guilt and past traumas, and I really enjoy those explorations of that kind of trauma and guilt and mental health and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that. I also really appreciate the world that we have. The world is very interesting. So like in this world, witches used to be the hierarchy, and they're now prosecuted and hunted. It's very interesting to explore a world that was once run by a different culture that's now run by another culture. And I do like the main character, but her friends are what screams YA to me. Like, she's got the best nerdy friend who knows everything, who's very smart, and then the childhood best friend who is a guy who's like secretly in love with her, but she's oblivious. Like, so that's a very the YA part, but the rest of it is very adult, I would say. The book is told through 2 POVs. One is Ruin, who is like the main POV, and 2 is Gideon, who is like the hunter. So we have the POV from the witch, and then we have the POV from the witch hunter. So I really did like that dynamic, and obviously the 2 get intertwined and there's a romance involved. I really enjoy the story being told by polarizing points of view, and it adds an extra element of suspense to the story because you're rooting for both of them. But obviously we want Rune, the witch, to succeed because she is the main POV. The other thing that I love about this story is the magic and how witches use magic, and that's through blood. They draw runes with their own blood or sometimes somebody else's blood. Depending on the type of blood or how fresh the blood is or who the blood comes from, the more potent and powerful the spell is. So I found that that was very interesting. There's one thing that I have to mention, and it kind of gave me the ick. It made me a little bit grossed out. Not really, but kind of. And if you haven't read this book, maybe skip. I'll put a timestamp below to when I skip. So basically in the beginning, it is very much told that if a witch bleeds himself, that leaves a mark. So witch hunters can find these marks. So in order to avoid that, Ruin uses her menstruational blood as magic and saves it for the month. Like, did nobody else catch that? That's super fucking gross. I'm sorry. Like, that was so, like, that kind of really grossed me out. I was like, wait a minute. Is she using her menstruation period to write all over walls and stuff? Like, okay, so I'm done now. The one thing that the story I feel like falters a little bit is that Ruin has another identity called the Crimson Moth, and she's basically like the Tuxedo Mask. She goes around saving other witches and has a hidden identity or whatever, and is being hunted by the witch hunters. I feel like that part of the story is actually the weakest out of everything, but because I'm only less than 50%, I know that there's lots of room to grow. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Obviously, I enjoyed it because I've read all of this in one sitting yesterday. The font is pretty big, so it's an easy, quick read. I anticipate that I will be done in a couple days. But yeah, as it stands right now, this book reminds me so much of the Rook and the Rose series. The Rook and the Rose is like more adult and more complex, but you have the same feel that you get from this book. That's all I have to say for now, and I will check back with you in a little bit with my final thoughts. So I'm really allergic to latex, and I got these like sponges that were supposed to be like latex free for my makeup, and then it caused an allergic reaction. So my eyes were all swollen, my nose was all swollen. Looks like I have a black eye. I assure you it's not. It's just allergic reaction, and it sucks. So if I'm scratching my nose or eyes, you know why. I'm having a coffee crisp for breakfast. I'm an adult. I love adulting. If you live in Canada, you know what this is. If you don't live in Canada, this is like the best chocolate bar ever. It's coffee flavored chocolate. So if you come to Canada, you need to try a coffee crisp. I just realized that like everything I'm wearing is so Canadian. If you also grew up in the 90s, I'm wearing Canadian House Hippo jersey that's supposed to look like Roots. And Roots is another Canadian company, and I'm actually wearing Roots pants, but I don't want to stand up. So yeah, you come to Canada, you have to have coffee crisp, get some Roots pants, and have some poutine. Gotta wash down my coffee crisp with coffee. So the first episode of this TBR vlog dropped yesterday, and I was expecting it to do okay. I just wasn't expecting it to do as well as it did. Like, it's done crazy well, and I'm so freaking pleased. At the same time, I'm a little terrified, but also very excited and pleased. So I'm so happy to all the people that decided to click in my video, and to all the new subscribers that have subscribed recently. Thank you so much. So yeah, like beyond excited, a little scared, a little nervous, but very happy nonetheless. Because of that, it kind of added fuel to the fire. So I'm really excited to continue on with these vlogs going forward. So yes, you're definitely going to see this series going forward. Updates. Okay, so if I turn like this, you can't really see it, but it looks weird. Maybe if I change the light a little bit. Does that work? No, that doesn't work. So I paused to put makeup on and to cover up this eye, and it kind of didn't work. I don't know, when you get to my age, makeup just doesn't work the same. You can't just be like, poof, oh, magic skin. It just doesn't work. But I forgot to press the unpause button. Fuck, I keep doing this, like, God. So I was going on a rant and talking about how I finished the Heartless Hunter last night, and I talked about it for like 5 minutes, and then I didn't just realize that I wasn't recording. So now we have to do this all over again. So yeah, I finished this last night, and I'm giving it 4 stars. Like I said before in my previous update, I kind of knew right off the bat that it wasn't going to be a 5-star, mainly because it is written in a YA kind of tone. That is the age that it's written for, and I'm not that age, so I hold nothing against that. But I kind of wish that this book was an adult book, because there's so many heavy themes in this book that I think that would have been excellent to explore further. From both sides of the coin, there's like this heavy theme of genocide, but then you kind of understand why the humans are afraid of the witches. And with reason they had to be, because, you know, the witches did some pretty terrible things. I think that the author could have really leaned into that, made this really dark and gritty. And there were some parts, which I actually tagged here, that were on like the gritty side. And I'm like, wow, like she has potential to do that, and I would have been so happy if that theme was throughout the entire book. I mean, that's my personal opinion of what I like. The other thing which I've noticed that happens a lot in a lot of YA books, obviously the writing is a little bit more simple, but another thing is there was a lot of repetition. She kept repeating the same things over and over again, and, you know, over explaining somebody's thoughts and feelings, and I was just like, okay, I get it. They're going through like a personal crisis. The other reason why it's not quite 5 stars is because I absolutely hated the ending. I hated it. Okay, let's just paddle back. I think I'm being a little bit too extreme right there. I didn't hate where the ending went. I actually enjoyed where the ending went. I hated how we got there. And I hated how the main character, Rune, just made the most, like, the dumbest decisions. And I'm just like, do you want me to hate you? Because I'm hating you right now. But the decision that she made towards the end was very much out of character. And I feel like that it was made just to give a little bit more drama and to make the ending more impactful, which maybe for some it was, but for me, it just kind of didn't. And I think that that particular part would have been fine without that particular part, but I get it. Going forward, it's setting the tone for the next book, which I am actually very excited to pick up. I'm struggling today to talk because my coffee has not set in. I'm struggling so bad. What was I talking about? So let's talk about the things that I liked. I absolutely loved the darkness of this world. You know, you have the point of view from the humans where they, you know, they fear these witches for good reasons. And then you have the point of view from the witches of like them being hunted because of the humans' fear. Just like people, not all witches are bad. So that was handled incredibly well. I really did love the exploration of trauma. I thought that was handled incredibly well. Both our POVs have their own different traumas that kind of guide them through life. And because they meet each other and they develop this relationship, they look at the trauma and kind of overcome it, which I thought was handled so well. It was handled so well. I really also enjoyed like the cat and mouse kind of thing where both POVs are scheming against each other, but then it doesn't work out the way that they planned. And I really enjoyed all of that. Overall, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a really good, solid read. And I do recommend this if you're looking for like a YA book that reads a little bit more adults, that has more like heavier themes, but you don't want to go full into adults. I highly recommend this, and I will be checking out the sequel when it comes out next year. So now we gotta spin the wheel for book 2. Alright, I got first in a series. I was kind of hoping for a different prompt, but this could work as well. I feel like this prompt is a little bit generic because I could pretty much start any book, but you know, I only have so many Romantasies in my shelf, so give me 1 second and I'll bring a pile of possibilities. All right, I have a pile of possibilities. Do I ever? Okay, so the first one I thought of was Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I talked about this recently. This is an adult fantasy that was originally self-published, but now it is now traditionally published. This is the traditionally published copy. So yes, this has been getting a lot of hype. I know that the first book in this is not entirely a romantasy. It's more like a fantasy with a romantic subplot, which I'm okay with. So there's this option. And then there is a Fate Inked Blood. Why can't I say that? A Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen. My family is from a part in Scotland which was a Viking settlement, so that's pretty cool. So I'm always biased to anything with Norse mythology or Vikings, so this is a high contestant. This one's like a wild card. I picked this up on a whim. This is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This was originally a self-published book, and I think it got picked up by traditional publishing, and I am fully aware that this is about fae, but I know also that the world is very unique and there are a lot of things that I love, like elemental creatures. So I'm very intrigued about this. The cover is slightly a little dramatic for my liking. This is a maybe. Another one is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. I just got this in the mail yesterday. I've had my eye on this book for quite some time, and now because, you know, Halloween is like literally next week, this is an adult's dark romantasy. So, yeah. And then the last one is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. I feel like I said that wrong. This one is a dark YA romantasy, and I've actually had this for a really long time. I bought this when it came out. So I bought this in 2020 when it came out, and I've had it downstairs, not on my shelves, and I just kind of pulled it out recently because it is very Halloween-y. I have heard that this one starts YA, but it kind of develops and matures as the series goes on, so I'm interested in that. Okay, so let me think about it. I'm going to put these two back on the shelves. I want to start this one, but I want to wait until the second book is published before starting it. So I'm going to wait. I think the second book is coming out in December, so I might wait next month to read it. And then this one as well. I think I want to either wait until the second one is announced, or, you know, just wait for a time where I could read this physically because it is a big book and I don't have the audiobook for that. So these two are going away. I think I'm going to put this one down as well. mainly because I know the sequel comes out next year. I can't remember when, but next year. So I want to pick it up closer to the sequel date. So I'm going to put this back. Can we talk about these sprayed edges? Like, what? Really, it is between these two. And these both are very Halloween-y books. I kind of want to go with One Dark Window because I just read a YA, but then I also kind of want to go with this one because I've been reading nothing but witch books all month. So this kind of really fits the bill. So I think I'm going to go with this one. Kingdom of the Wicked is the winner, and I will check back with you in a couple days with an update. Okay, so I'm back and it's time for an update. I'm reading Kingdom of the Wicked and I'm on the 12th chapter. I was able to get the audiobook from the library, which I was super excited about. So I listened to it right away and I have some thoughts and I don't know if they're good ones. So my first thought was how much this story reminded me of The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. The setting is like historic Sicily. So there's a lot of like the words, the culture, the food. Oh my God, the food is so detailed in this book. My mouth actually watered when I was like listening to all the detail of all the food that they were making. Oh, so good. And the audiobook narrator does a very good job of pronouncing Italian words. So all of that is all great and fantastic. And the start of it, much like The Familiar, started off in like a very historic setting. And then you kind of slowly learn a little bit more about the world, a little bit more about like the supernatural and stuff like that. And that's fine. I'm not sure if this is a me problem. Now, I'm not sure if it's the narrator or the fact that this book is written in first person, but this book is so dramatic, like over the top dramatic, like try hard dramatic. And I don't know if I'm okay with that. I don't know if it's just because I just finished another YA book and maybe I just needed another break, or the fact that like maybe I just really don't like the writing style. But I found the story intriguing enough, so I kept going until we reached chapter 11. There's a point in the story where the main character does something. She does something in order to get an answer that she wants. And she does this, and then the way that she responds is so out of character that I was just like, what the hell is happening? And it's her twin sister that is the one that's like kind of like the troublemaker, the more adventurous sister, and she's like the bookish sister that stays at home and cooks food for her family. But all of a sudden, after chapter 11, that completely switches, and then she becomes this very like aggressive, confrontational person. And the dialogue that happens in chapter 11, I'm just like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is like so bad. So I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's YA. I don't know if it's because it's first person narrative. I don't know if it's because it's the writing style, but I'm putting this book down. It seems to be like a theme in these vlogs that I DNF a book, but I'm actually not going to unhaul this book. I'm putting a bookmark in it and I'm going to put it back in my bookshelf. And if I don't read it within the year, say October 25, then I will unhaul it. I will just give up on it. So I'm going to put it away for now because maybe I'm just not in the mood for it right now. But yeah, as it stands, I am DNFing it. Just like I should have DNF Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I hated that book so much. I'm pretty bummed about this, but then I also remember hearing similar thoughts when this book came out, so I'm not entirely surprised. Yeah. So this is spin number 3. Awesome. I'm actually really excited about this. I got indie, so give me a sec and I'll bring some books that I think are indie published. Actually, I don't have that many. Okay, so give me 1 sec. So I only actually have 3, and 2 you've already seen in this vlog, so I'll just quickly talk about them. So obviously Spark of the Everflame, it was originally indie, now it's traditionally published. So this one, Quicksilver, also the same thing, indie, and now I think it's traditionally published, or I don't know. This is the self-pub copy, but I know that it's going to be traditionally published, I believe in October. I'll put that down below. So yeah, that one. And then another one is Song of the Marked by S.M.A. Gather. This is another one. It was originally a self-pub, and it looks like it was picked up by Penguin. Yeah, so I have these 3. This one I know has been compared to Throne of Glass. I was a huge Throne of Glass fan, like big time. I also have the audiobook for this as well. Let me think about this. Okay, I'm ruling out Quicksilver, and it's not because I don't think I will like it. I think I actually will like it, judging by the reviews. It's just because I like to wait until either the sequel is coming out, or there is an announced date, and there is nothing as of yet. Maybe I should double check, but I don't think that there is anything announced as of yet. So I want to wait. So really, it is between these 2. I've had this one for a while, and I'm not sure if I'm in like epic fantasy mode. So I think I'm gonna read Spark of the Everflame. Why am I doing this? I don't know. I'm really excited for this one. So yeah, I wanted to kind of hold off because I know that the sequel's coming out in December, but I know that there's still copies on KU, and I hope that they're still there. So if I really want to push on, I can read them there. So yeah, I will be back with an update, and hopefully it'll be a good one. Today is a hat and gloves day. It is freezing out right now. The sky is gray and gloomy. The leaves are all falling. It's just a perfect day to sit at home and read a book. Unfortunately, I have a ton of things to do today, including cleaning. My house is a disaster, and laundry. It's just a never-ending list of things to do. But since I'm home alone for the first time in a couple days, I thought I would sit down and give a quick update. My hair journey continues. I did try this robe wrap last night. When I woke up this morning, the curls were like up to here, but then they slowly dropped. Thankfully, if they didn't, I would have had to like wash my hair because I don't like tight curls. I don't think they look good on me. Although I think it worked really well. I absolutely hated sleeping with this on my head. And I'm like, what's the term? I think it's like the term is like you sleep any which way. Like I'm not a side sleeper or back sleeper. I'm like all over. I'm a roundabout sleeper. Not being able to position myself to be comfortable because of this on my head made me sleep like shit last night. So that's kind of a downer. So maybe if I do this, I'll have to do it like in the morning on a day where I'm at home, not doing anything, and I can use this in the morning and then have it done by the evening. I don't know. So I'm not giving up, but I know that there's different methods of wrapping your hair. So I'm going to try more methods. But as it stands right now, the one that I like the best with my hair's current state is probably the 2 braids. I feel like that is the best way. Put it in the morning. By mid-afternoon, I have some nice gentle waves, and I like that the best. So that's my update. Book update. Okay, so since I've started this TBR challenge to get my books down, and I have been aggressively taking things down from my shelves, like I'm following that, what is that term? It's like, oh God, that woman that was really popular for a while. She has like if you hold it and if it brings you joy, and if it doesn't bring you joy, then get rid of it. I'm kind of doing the same thing with that right now. So I am getting rid of a lot of books, like a lot of books. And some of them I've been hanging on to because I'm like, well, maybe I will enjoy the series eventually. And I am known to get caught up in hype. So maybe I picked it up at a time where everybody was loving it. I'm like, yeah, I love it too. But then upon reflection, I actually don't love it as much as everybody else does. So I am being very aggressive and I'm getting rid of a ton of books. So probably when I give my update on my physical TBR, it's going to be drastically lower because I am getting rid of books left, right, and center. In my last vlog, I mentioned that I don't like to do hauls and unhaul videos. I kind of, for personal reasons, I'm not going to get into it. But if you are interested in unhaul video, let me know. I may do it, I may not, no promises, but yeah, there's a lot I'm getting rid of. And as great as it is to donate, I wish I could get some of my money back for some of these so I could buy books that I'm more interested in now. But that's just not how it works. And unfortunately, there's only one place around me that does give store credit, but it's such a mission to get to, and it's like downtown Toronto. Taking a big, huge pile of books with me on the subway, that's not happening. So I only go when my husband can drive me, which is very rarely. So that's where that stands. Anyways, I've yammered on way too long about this, so I'm going to talk about the Spark of the Everflame. So I am about a little less than 50% the way through. I'm reading this physically, so it does take me a little longer to get through a physical read than it would an audiobook. And I have been annotating it, which I don't usually do, but I have because for the purpose of this vlog, because sometimes I have thoughts and then the moment I get in front of the camera, they all kind of flutter away and I forget about it. But I have been annotating this book for you guys. But before I get into it, I need to talk about this book and how beautiful this is. I don't think you will be able to see this. I don't think you're able to see this, but this entire book is like a pattern, and in the pattern is the title and the author's name, and it's absolutely stunning. Like, I wish you could see it. I wish it came out on camera, but it's so gorgeous. And the problem though is when you have a white cover and you read a book without the cover on it, it will get marked. So it happened. Also, the inside of the book, I absolutely love this. This is just absolutely so aesthetically pleasing to me. Okay, so my first note is the first chapter was very clunky. It was kind of info dumping. You're learning a lot about the character, and it is first person narrative. So you're learning about the family and you're learning about her and the world. I understand why authors do a lot of info dump in their first chapter because they want to grab the reader's attention. So by giving them as much information as possible is a better way to grab their attention, because at least something in the first chapter will, snare them into reading the book further. So I totally understand that. But from a writer's point of view, I feel like putting all your eggs in one basket is not a good idea. I feel like slowly giving information throughout the first couple of chapters is a better reading experience, in my personal opinion. So the first chapter was a bit clunky, but I do enjoy her writing style. So that is a plus. This next one is like a plot thing. So this book is about a young girl named Diem, and she is the daughter of a healer in a post-war world. That was so hard for me to say, where the humans are kind of like the lower class citizens, and the higher class citizens are like the offspring of gods. And there's such a class dynamic that basically all the humans are like living in the slums, and the offspring of the gods, which are called the descendants, are living in like castles and living their best life. There are a bunch of different realms in this like continent. So the continent is almost like a circle, and there's all these different realms, and each realm, the descendant have like a different magic, which kind of reminds me of Sarah J. Maas. If you know, you know. So each realm, their descendants have different magic. I think the one where they're living in right now, it's more light based, like light and shadow based. And then one other one is like fire and elemental and stuff like that. So currently we are following Diem, and she is the daughter of a healer. And in the first chapter, her mother goes missing. They presume that she is dead, but she's basically missing and they don't know where she is. So then time has passed, and she is now dealing with the fact that like her mother's gone, and now she has to kind of step up and take care of her family, take care of her younger brother, and basically the things that her mother was responsible for is now her responsibility. So she's got a lot of anger over this. Her anger gets quite aggressive as the story progresses, which I absolutely love. I love an angry character. It speaks to me. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, I love angry characters. The other thing is there is some mystery around her, and we're just going to leave it at that. But the hints are so obvious. It's just laid out right in front of you. And so it's like, there's no guessing. It's like, I know that this is what this is, so I'm just waiting for when DM is smart enough to figure it out. Because honestly, she really should have figured it out. As a healer, she should have figured it out. And I have heard from other people that the first half of the book is probably the weakest of the entire series, and the second part is where it really, really picks up. So I'm kind of waiting for that. And the last chapter I kind of left off at, it is kind of picking up. So another complaint that I have is, it's in the first chapter, it's not giving anything away, but she's kind of in a relationship where, like, with her like childhood friend. And this childhood friend's opinions are very strong. And it is very, like, you meet him and right away it's like, that's how he feels about this. And her situation and her appearance really points to a certain thing, and it is quite obvious, but he is ignoring that. Oh God, I'm trying to not to give it away. I feel like he would not like her. And that's just my opinion. He also did something around page 83, which I actually marked, which made me like, and it was such an egotistical, gross thing to do. Yeah, like it was just, I don't like this. I don't like the guy that she's in a relationship. I don't like him at all. But yeah, so overall, I am enjoying it. I'm not loving it, but I am enjoying it. It's not going to be a DNF, so that's a plus. So yeah, I guess I will get back to you in a couple of days when I finish this book. Okay, so I just finished Spark of the Everflame like literally 10 minutes ago, and I have a bit of time to kind of give a quick update on my final thoughts, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I think it's going to be probably about between 4 to 4.5. I haven't quite decided yet, but I did really enjoy it, and I really liked the setup for the continuation of the series. Okay, so there are a couple of things that I want to talk about real quick. So the first thing is, I've noticed this is often a trend with certain romantasies that female friendships are hard to find, apparently. And I don't think that that should be the case. I think that more romantasies really do need to involve a female friendship, because every single time a childhood friend is always a guy. All the time. The main character's childhood friend is a dude. And that's fine and everything, but I would really like to see some solid female friendship representation. I think it's a healthy thing to have instead of surrounding yourself by men and men relationships. Not that there's a problem with that, because there are people like that, but the most of us do have female friends. So I feel like that should be represented in these books. I do see setup for a female friendship to evolve between our main character and another character, but I don't think that that will be a big part of the series going forward. So yeah, I feel like that is a opportunity missed. So that's just my one little thought. I did make some notes about how much DM irritated me and drove me nuts through the entire book, but then I kind of realized that she is going through some severe guilt and trauma and grieving the loss of her mother, even though, you know, you don't know if her mother is alive or not, but she is assuming that her mother is gone. Her mother's gone, so she's grieving that. And she's also adjusting to life without medication, which is a big thing to adjust to. I feel like the author did a really good job of pulling from mental health issues and being medicated, and how medication can affect your personality and how it changes how you receive and feel things. And sometimes being off of medication is almost better than being numb to it. So I feel like that was handled really well. And as a person who has gone through something like that, I totally can understand how she is making all these stupid decisions. She's going through the adjustments of finding out who she is. And sometimes when we do that, we make really stupid mistakes, which she did, and she regretted them. So I appreciated all of that. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this book. and I am really excited to continue on, especially after that ending. Oh my god, that ending was just such a great cliffhanger, so I think I may have to continue reading this through ebook. I think the sequel is still on KU, so if I really buckle to wanting to read the sequel, I can read the ebook instead of waiting until December until the traditionally published book comes out. So I think that might be the case. I think I would have been really discouraged if I had to DNF another book, so I'm very happy that this was a hit. I don't have a script for my videos, and sometimes I feel like I should, because when I get in front of a camera, I sometimes forget to mention things. And I forgot to mention that this video series and project, the TBR Purge project, was inspired by Becca from Becca and the Books. She has a series called Shove It or Scrap It, which I absolutely love, and I thought that was such a fantastic idea. So that kind of like encouraged me to do the same. So I do want to give a shout out to Becca. So this is the end of the vlog. Although I did DNF one book, I did find 2 good books and 2 new series that I am actually very excited to continue on with. So I think that it was a success. And although these 2 books are a newer one on my shelves, I did read a backlist one, which was Kingdom of the Wicked. And since I filmed my last update, I have decided to unhaul Kingdom of the Wicked. I don't think I will ever want to read that book, so I'm unhauling it. So just to give some stats, I did read 3 books, 2 in this vlog, 1 outside of this vlog. I DNF'd a book, and I will be unhauling that book. And I went through my shelves and pulled a ton of books to unhaul. So right now, my physical TBR number is 148 unread books, which I'm like, that's amazing. I'm so proud of myself. This is the end of the video. All of my socials are down below. If you like this video, please give it a like. Think about subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.